Hi guys, Michael here. Welcome to my channel on the build and review of the XCUB 60cc from Hangar 9. As I promised, I will do a maiden flight video for you guys. However, not one to lie, I have maiden the plane already, as I did it around about, I think, 3 weeks ago. However, the camera I used at that time did not record the actual flight, and it was only an onboard video. I didn't... I don't know if the record button wasn't pressed properly on the camera, or it just shut itself down in midair because of the vibration. But either way, it didn't record, so I'm gonna have to do a second video, which will be the second flight of the plane. But it will obviously be the maiden flight for you guys, because it's the first time that you guys will see it fly. But until I can do that, which is in the next couple of days, due to once again, nobody being able to hold the camera for me, because my wife's in the nursing industry, and her time is very different. It's always actually during the day. So obviously flight times, I can only fly the plane during the day. So it kind of limits me as to the times I can fly. But in saying that, I'll be making this video to address some questions that you guys have asked me in the past, which is transportation of the plane. I have told you guys that it will fit inside a Focus RS, which I own personally, but it will comfortably fit in the Ford Everest. Now, those of you living in the States or in countries where this car is not sold, it's pretty much the same dimensions as a Ford Explorer. I used to own a Ford Explorer myself. And in size of the vehicle inside, it is very similar, if not pretty much the same. I haven't yet driven or seen the new Explorers, because the last Explorer that was sold in Australia was 2002 or 3. So we haven't had the current Explorers yet. However, obviously they do grow in size a little bit with cars, but they should still be the same dimensions roughly. So I'm pretty sure those of you that own Ford Explorers or vehicles of that sort in the States, this plane will fit pretty much comfortably into any vehicle in vehicles this size. So those that fly and own an SUV, no worries. So, but they will fit in hatchbacks. I have fit this plane in my RS Focus, so you won't have any issues fitting it. You just won't have much room inside the car. Whereas with this, you can still carry 4 people, including the driver, with the plane fitted, along with the wings and everything you need to fly it. So I'll open it up for you guys so you can see how it is. So with my flight box there, that houses all my the transmitter and tools, the spinner. The only thing I have to remove when transporting this in both my cars is the spinner and the propeller, because they do hit on the tailgate. So at the end of the day, transportation wise, it does make it a little bit more difficult to transport, because you've got to remove them. But if you don't need the front seat, you can fold that front seat backwards, so lie it down and then put the tail on top of the seat to push this back a little bit more, which then gives you room to leave that on. But because I need the front seat for passengers, as you can see, I can still fit a front passenger. This third row seat still up, and also the second row seat is still up. Now, the best thing about the Everest is every seat can split down the middle, so it gives you a little bit more versatility there. So that's the wings. People who are curious as to what wing bags I use, they're not wing bags, they're actually picnic mats that I just fashioned out and folded in half, and then with Mylar tape I just taped it into place to basically close it like a bag. But these just slide in and out of the bags, so they protect them on transportation. And I utilize a rear seat belt over the fuselage when I transport them, so if the car makes the fuselage move, it won't move this way. And when these wings move, I use a blanket and line it in between the fuselage and the wings, so if they do tend to move, they won't be damaged by the movement. by hitting the fuselage of the plane or the side of the car inside. So just to show you guys how it looks. So yeah, the reason I use the blankets is because of that. So if they do hit the side walls or the seatbelt locker, they don't get damaged. They are very fragile, as those of you that fly and own RC planes know. This is just basically covering film. Good thing about covering film though is you can reheat it up, and if you have like dents inside, dents on it, or little things like little wrinkles, you can always iron them back out. So still gives you a lot of room to move inside of an SUV, as long as you've got split fold seats. Now onwards to the performance of the plane on the first flight. I couldn't have asked for a better combination in terms of the propeller and engine. I used the DLE55RA, which is the rear exhaust mount. As you can see there, it's mounted on the rear instead of the sides. The DLE55RA, I think static thrust is rated at 13.5 kilograms. My plane in the air weighs 13.2 kilos, so just in specifications on paper I'm already over 1-to-1 thrust. Maximum RPM static on the ground with the 3-blade Mejlik 2210, I've recorded 5960 RPM, so 5960. In the air, however, they do spin faster because they do unload, so I have recorded 6486 in the air, so just under 6500 RPM. We've also measured the static thrust on the ground with a mini digital crane scale. For people who don't know what a crane scale is, it basically mounts, you hook it up to the back of the plane and then put the plane on full throttle, and then it measures it by pulling on a scale, basically. So instead of, if you can imagine a weight scale that you use for people, instead of standing on it and putting weight down on the scale, in this case it actually pulls. So we've managed static on the ground 14.5 kilograms at 5900 RPM. So we can only guess that it will be higher in midair because it's spinning faster at 6486. We'd be guessing roughly close to 15 kilos. So as with most companies that build motors or engines or cars, they always tend to underestimate their power figures. For those that obviously do end up testing them in the end, they'd rather underestimate the power figures on paper than overestimate. It just makes them look a little bit better. So I'd be guessing the engine will be pulling roughly 15 to 15.5 kilos. So I've got over 1-to-1 thrust, and I know that because when I pulled out of a very, very slow pass and went straight up, once I put the nose up and went full throttle, it just didn't stop until I actually leveled it out. So the power combination of the Mejlik 2210 prop and also the DLE55RA is awesome. The other things that I've been, the other questions I've been asked by YouTubers or people that have watched the videos is the servo choices that I made. Now the servos I used are D645MW, high voltage 7.4 volt LiPo powered servos from Hi-Tech. No issues whatsoever. So any doubt that I had initially of the tail servos being too weak, because these are measured at 13 kilograms per square centimeter, or sorry, per cubic centimeter, at 7.4 volts. They're well more than enough for your standard 3D application. The only time I would actually suggest buying better servos than this would be if you are going to extreme 3D this plane, which it's not made to do that anyway. So it's not made to do extreme 3D with it. So at the end of the day, you know, you'll be using those servos on different planes for different applications. But the D645MWs are just fine, and they're priced right as well. So they fit very well into the budget. The electric starter, the onboard starter, EME starter, is perfect because I needed nose weight anyway. The instructions do specify 250 to 300 grams at the nose, which the starter weighs 250 grams, and then the module and the battery used to power it, which is a 3S LiPo 11.1, weighs another, I think, 50 grams on top. So I've got, I think, 310 grams with the module, electric starter module, and the battery needed to power it. And in that case, it added the just the right amount of weight for it to be just right. So the center of gravity, or CG, is perfect. It's basically almost in the middle. The baffles work very, very well. I haven't actually taken a close-up of baffles yet, but the baffle is actually just a cardboard piece that's sandwiched with foam, and I've also put them inside here on these sides of the engines just to make it on this side of the cowl, sorry, just to make it even. But they do work very well. And the mistake that I made of cutting these larger than they're supposed to actually had a positive effect to it, because aesthetically it does look a little bit off, but cooling wise, the maximum temperature recorded on the ground, which of course there's not much airflow going through, but on the ground I can only manage 92 degrees, and the maximum for this is 160 degrees Celsius. So on the ground was 92 degrees, in the air was even cooler. We were recording at 86 degrees in the air, full throttle, continuous throttle, and that's on a nose up angle. So that's with the most load that you can put in the engine. So hopefully it answers a few questions for you guys. The maiden flight will be in the next few days. As I said, logistically, I just had to make sure that both myself and my wife were available, because she needs to hold the camera and record while I fly. My issue always is nobody will hold the camera for me. So in this case, hopefully everything goes well and the weather permits. It'll be hot in the next few days here in Victoria. I think we'll be recording close to 40 degrees Celsius very shortly, which I think in Fahrenheit is over 100. So it's not ideal temperatures to fly planes, RC planes. But hopefully we'll be able to fly it just before or just after the hot spell of weather, which is in the next couple of days for 48 hours duration. So very soon we'll get that second flight up, which is the maiden for the videos, and hopefully by then I can answer more of your questions. So if you have any more questions in between now and then, guys, please don't hesitate to ask. You have my sincere apologies once again for not being able to deliver on the promise that the maiden flight will be recorded. I tried, but it just didn't work out. But until next time, I thank you for your viewing patronage, and hope to see you in the next video. Till then, cheers.